Buckle up. You are listening to Musicians and Beyond, where we bring you the backstage info on the life, lyrics, and long journeys of the music industry. This is John Sarabian alongside of Mark Lawhorn. And, we are really killing it lately, Mark. I mean, we got this documentary series that we've been doing it with Ernie Sheffalou called Under the Covers. And then we've been doing a lot with the Seabrook Idol.
Being up in Seabrook the other night was a lot of fun. Being able to see that many musicians, showcasing what they're about and all vying for a prize, the first place prize of $1,000. Just being hosted by Ray Bork and the Drevis family up there at Red's Kitchen and Diner was a treat. But then having the music was an added benefit to us. So a lot of fun. Yeah,
the talent. One contestant was better than the next. Everyone was fantastic. They were all winners in my eyes.
Yeah, even the ones that, at the end of the night, two get cut and eliminated. But, they performed very well, and they just happened to be up against some enormous talent. It was a lot of fun to watch and be a part of.
I totally agree. And you know what I'm excited for? I am so excited for today's guest. This guy, I mean, we've interviewed, like, the biggest of rock stars to, everyone in the industry. And this guy actually has the coolest story. Let me just paint a picture here. It was a warm summer day. It was September 9th in 2016 in Philadelphia. And this kid decides to go to a concert with his father. And the concert's Bruce Springsteen. So they were all excited on going. And then it suddenly turns into a shit show. They get on the wrong train. And it threw them off. But them getting on the wrong train turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to them because it was a lottery system and it changed their place in line. We're going to introduce Matthew Aucoin, and he's going to tell us what happened from the time that they got in line Bruce Springsteen concert to what it turned into. It's unbelievable. So Matthew, first of all, welcome. You're down in Texas.
Yes, sir. Houston, Texas, born and raised.
Excellent. Well, we're in Boston, and we were hoping that you would, fly in because we understand that you are a pilot also.
I'm a pilot.
Well, one of these days, maybe
I'm
you
a
can.
pilot.
One of these days, you can put that on your agenda and fly in and see us and do this in person.
I would love to. So my dad flies a Pilatus PC-12, and I fly, which is a single engine turboprop, pressurized cabin up to 30,000 feet. And mine is a Beechcraft Baron B-58, which is a twin engine. And it can fly probably 220 knots over the ground, which is like 240, 250 miles an hour. So it can fly pretty good. It's a great airplane. And I love it. I took after the passion. I took after my dad's passion of flying at a very young age because he flies just for fun, and he kind of fell into it by accident from actually his job. They owed him a bunch of money at West Houston Airport, and the only way they could pay him is if they taught him how to fly. And so that's kind of how it all got started.
Well, you're going to have to use that license and come up here and do this in person.
It would be an amazing experience.
That would be great. Yeah, so take us back to 2016, September 9th. You were with your dad in Philadelphia, the Bruce Springsteen concert. You got on the wrong train. It threw you off. You get in line, and you scored a pretty good number, which allowed you to get a nice spot in the arena. Tell me what happened from there.
I had been in the lottery system before, and I hadn't been so lucky. But in Oklahoma City, the selection was a lot smaller because it's not a big name Bruce city. It's Oklahoma, so you had a very good chance to get into the pit. With Philadelphia, I knew the chances were slim, but I wanted to give it a shot anyway. And so just like you said, I'm and props to you for doing your research on that about getting on the wrong train and all that and knowing all of that beforehand. That is awesome. But my dad and I showed up, and we got our numbers, and our numbers were 1306 and 1307, and the winning number was 1221. So we were like number 80. And immediately I knew, I was like, holy crap, I have this might actually happen, because I could have easily been booted way back, and all of my signs would have gone to waste. I didn't just have that sign. I did have just regular song requests. Like I think I had Racing in the Street, which she ended up playing. I think I had like Reason to Believe, a couple of other ones, but of course that one was my big one. And so we got up there, and man, it was hot. It was, one thing about that night was it was very, very hot. And I wanted to wait for the right moment to hold up the sign, because Bruce can look at a sign and then he'll pan. If it's not at the right time, he could just pan over it and not really notice it again, no matter how much you throw it up. So I waited till the end of Rosalita, and Bruce was right there with Stevie. And this is where the YouTube video starts. And I just throw up my sign, and it's right in his face. And he looks at it, and he kind of just, takes a step back, and he's just kind of like, whoa, this is different.
Yeah. So the sign that you're talking about says, "Can a college kid play No Surrender with you?"
That is correct. And on the bottom right of the sign, I put all of the chords in like a verse, chorus, bridge sequence. Like capo, 3rd fret, D, A, G. It's a very basic song. And so the reason why I did that was to show Bruce that I wasn't just trying to clown around and like just jump up on stage and wail the song. I wanted to show him that I actually knew how to perform the song and actually knew the chords to the song. So he looked, and then he started mouthing like, can he play? Can he play? And I guess my dad was right next to me, and I guess he assumed that. So he goes to my dad, and he's like, can he play? Can he play? And my dad is so funny. My dad was like, he said, whenever he told the story later, he's thinking, I have no idea if he can play this, but I'm going to say, yes, he can play it. Yes, he can play it. And so Bruce kind of looked at Stevie, and Stevie kind of nodded yes, and then Bruce grabbed the sign. And then I was just kind of like, all right, here we go. And so I hopped up on stage, and it was kind of a blur from that point. I walked up, and I looked back, and I just saw this sea of heads, just far as I could see. It was just like, oh my gosh. And then I was like, okay. Then I turned my back to the crowd. I was like processing what exactly I'm about to do, and that it was actually happening.
Who hands you a guitar?
It was Kevin Buell handing me the guitar. It was Kevin. I wasn't as aware of how everyone loved Kevin until after the fact, because everyone asked questions about Kevin. And now I wish I could have said something to, Kevin. But Kevin handed me the guitar, and initially I turned away, and he was like, oh, hey. And then he handed me a pick. And it's a pick that looks just like this. This is his exact pick. And
Excellent.
Bruce uses a bigger pick than normal, but it's the very thick pick.
Wow.
Yeah, he handed me the pick.
Cool.
Yeah, so when you got on stage, you got to see what a rock star sees when they're up there. It must be really overwhelming. Yeah. But from the second that you walked up those stairs, the confidence that you were putting out was unbelievable. You might have been nervous inside, but you didn't show it. You
Absolutely.
Looked like that was... So I've watched the performance a bunch of times, and I picked up new stuff every single time. Everything from start to finish was right on it. It looks like you guys had practiced it. There were times when you guys were all up there, and everyone was in the same sequence of swinging the guitar in motion, the back and forth to the microphones on the, going back and forth with the vocals was like spot on. It was unbelievable.
That was one of the most popular questions, and yes, to tell you the truth, I was super nervous, but I told myself, if this actually happens, I want to look back on this and think, I gave that my absolute best. I performed that song. I don't want to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I looked like a fool. I made a fool out of myself, blah, 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 blah. But I wanted to look back and think, okay, I killed that. And so, but the way to that, as you were saying, one of the most popular questions to me was, oh, it had to have been staged. It must have been staged. Your dad paid Bruce. You guys have connections with Bruce. And I said, to be honest with you, it wasn't staged, but I wish it was, because that means, A, I do have connections to Bruce. B, I could have talked with him behind stage. C, I could have actually rehearsed with the band and chatted with the band. I could have had that full experience of actually talking with Niels, Max, Stevie a little bit, grabbing pictures and having that full backstage experience. But instead, it was exactly what you guys saw. I got up there, I played, had a few words, and I got off. And the reason why it seemed like it was just, we were all in sync is, you guys were all young and you guys were kids, and you go on YouTube and you watch your idol, like your favorite artist growing up, and you have your headphones in, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, just as Bruce talks in his audiobook, and you pretend that you're Bruce, and so you just study and you just know how Bruce is and how all of his mannerisms are, and the way how I knew how to trade off the verses was on his 2009 live DVD release where he played in Hyde Park. He had Brian Fallon from Gaslight Anthem play No Surrender with him on stage. And so I knew, okay, whenever someone hops up with Bruce, this is where the guest plays, this is where Bruce plays. So I also knew that going into it. So I had basically done my homework beforehand and had really kind of prepared myself, okay, this is how it's going to go. But and also to touch on what you were saying, I pick up on little things too. It's like it seemed as Bruce was slowly testing me and seeing what I could do, and he kind of inched me towards the mic, and I sang a lot louder, and he was like, okay, he can sing. And then we started trading verses, and it just kind of went from there. It was a slow progression.
Yeah, you guys had a great interaction, and Stevie Van Zandt too. I mean, he'd come by and he, looked over to Bruce a couple of times to give him his nod of approval, and I think they did a tweet after the concert, something to the effect of, "That kid's good. We're going to take him on tour," or something to that effect.
I remember Stevie was like, someone asked him a question and he quoted it, and he said, "Oh yeah, we bring him everywhere. Has school started yet?" ? Or it was something like that. I don't know the exact words, but you're right. There was a couple tweets.
I want to ask you, I mean, you get up on there, you look out to the sea of heads, and that's all you can see. What was the largest stage and audience you had been in front of before then?
Oh my gosh, that was my first. Well, to be completely honest with you, I had only known how to play guitar for 9 months coming into that moment. And so that was my first really big live audience. And so it's all downhill from here,
Well, it sure.
I mean, I swing for the fence and I hit a home run so I can retire. But
you sure as hell hit a home run with that one.
Oh yeah, and it was at Citizens Bank Park, so the analogy goes with where the concert was.
That's incredible. So that got you instant notoriety. The YouTube blew up.
I wish it was. I say to people, I wish that had happened like now, where I have music out instead of because I'm on the Today Show, World News Tonight, Good Morning America, all like all these radio stations in LA and Illinois. It's just this shot of publicity, and I have no music to show for it. But it was just the beginning of my musical journey and my musical passion. That was real. I was just getting into it. So
well, what a story that is. I mean, there are musicians that have been doing this for years and years and haven't even come close to making that pinnacle of their career. And
a guy like Bruce, he's one of the only people that would give someone that kind of opportunity, and it just shows the kind of guy he is.
It is rare.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you, what did you learn out of that instance? You talk about the publicity, you talk about the stage, you talk about, all the things that you took from that, and from there on, what do you use from that today that you learned from then, from, knowing how to put yourself out there, knowing how to use the media? What did you learn then that you use in your everyday performances or your everyday trying to get your music out there?
That's a good question. Mainly just how to compose yourself, how to interview well, kind of knowing your stuff beforehand, knowing exactly what to say and how to say it, getting a point across in one sentence instead of taking 4 sentences, don't ramble and things like that. But the connections that I got from that experience, like whenever my first album came out about 1.5 years ago, I reached out to those same connections that reached out to me for like a little article or whatnot, and they were able to publish something out of it. So I was able to use those same resources.
So you're listening to Musicians and Beyond with Sarabian and Lawhorn, and we are having a hell of a conversation with Matthew Aucoin. He was telling us all about his Bruce Springsteen experience And that's not all that he does. He's a singer and songwriter, and he's down in Texas. You had said earlier that you brought the, posters and all that, and you had it in your mind that when you were going to get called up there, that you would know what to do. Did you feel beforehand that you were going to be the one?
I mean, I didn't want to admit it, but I think I had a pretty good feeling. I knew I had a shot. I knew I would have the opportunity. Like whenever I was standing in line before that number was called, I was basically waiting, okay, will I even have the opportunity? Whenever that number was called, I knew that I would at least have that chance.
Wow.
And I try and take advantage of every chance that I get.
Yep.
And so I didn't want to miss. And thank goodness I did not miss.
Oh.
And I made the best out of that performance. I had no idea it was going to be as big as it was afterwards. I just didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, I'll get up there and it'll be cool, and then that'll be it. And it's crazy. After I got off, everyone was like, of course, mobbing me and stuff, but the show kept going. So you kind of had to press pause on that moment because, you're at a Bruce Springsteen concert. You need to admire the concert, so you listen to the rest of the concert. And then as soon as the house lights go up, everyone starts flooding to me again. Like people from the news media, hey, like I'm with so-and-so. We'd love to interview you tomorrow, this, that. And it was just it was insane. It's crazy that all that happened because it's like I flew out that next day and like I go back to school because I really was a college kid. I'm like, okay, I have a test on Wednesday, but I have an interview with Good Morning America Wednesday morning. I have this interview at 10 and my test is at 1. I was living that life for a solid 2 to 3 weeks, and it was a very busy time. But looking back, I don't regret any of it. I wish I would have stayed up there because might have been able to go in studio and such, but it's just how it worked out.
You're up on stage, your dad's in your seats or in the pit where you left him.
Mm-hmm.
You return right back to there after playing the song.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
And
my dad.
So everyone around you was looking at you like, huh?
They were wide-eyed. My dad was like, "Whoa!" Like he didn't know. I think my dad watched the video more than I did. I could. And he does a really good job of bringing it up to people because it's different. I don't like bringing it up on my own because and I know it's a really, really good moment. It's just the way how I am. Like I don't like coming across as like, oh, like look at me, look at what I did. But if someone else were to bring it up, then I talk about it.
Right.
But other people usually do that for me, and I'm like, oh yeah, because it is a lot to unpack in that story, and I have to dedicate like 10 minutes of whatever the situation is to like tell the full story. So
yeah, well, that's cool. That's a memory that will be there forever. But it's probably extremely memorable for you that your dad was with you because you and your dad go to a ton of Bruce Springsteen concerts.
My dad turned me on to Bruce. It was actually back in 2003 on the Rising tour. Like the Barcelona concert was like on our DVR, and I would just keep playing it over and over again because I had this like obsessive personality, and so but then I kind of didn't really listen to music much. But then on the Magic tour, because I'd forgotten who Bruce Springsteen was. But then my dad, in December of like 2007, his Santa Claus is Coming to Town turned on. He said, hey, Matthew, you know who this is? And I was like, no. He said, oh, it's Bruce Springsteen. I was like, that name sounds really familiar. And he said, yeah, I remember The Rising. I was like, oh, yeah, that guy. And he said, oh, yeah, he's coming to Houston in April. Do you want to go? And I was like, sure. And, man, I went to that first concert. The first song I ever heard him play was a Cadillac Ranch and at the Toyota Center in Houston back in 2008. And it was the show right before Danny passed away. And so it was a really cool show. And then from that moment on, I was the one dragging my dad to Springsteen concerts, flying to different cities whenever he wasn't coming to Houston. We would go to Kansas City, Jacksonville, Tampa. We even made it out to LA, but I had always wanted to see a show up north in either the New York, Jersey, or Philadelphia area. And that's when in 2016 we were able to make it up there.
Well, that's really cool. So for the people listening, go to YouTube and check out Matthew Aucoin's time up on stage with Bruce Springsteen. And you spell his name, his last name is Aucoin, and it's pronounced Aucoin. And just type his name in with Bruce Springsteen and you'll see it. And it looks like they had been practicing it for months. It was perfect.
I had been practicing it for years. Bruce just wasn't with me.
Two things I have to say. One, Matt, you may be the first person I ever heard of that said, I forgot who Bruce Springsteen was. And two, now that happens, and we all wish that we could have a moment like that in our lives. But if you had the moment to have it, happen, how would you have used it to bring the music up? But more importantly, since then, what is the music you have out there now? What are you doing? If this is it behind you in the rearview mirror, what would you bring up about yourself now?
Well, right now, you guys see on this call, like I have completely decked out I live in a 3-bedroom townhouse, and this is an entire decked out music studio with like sound foam. I have like my monitors set up, and back behind me is another really big monitor. I have all my guitars. I got my keyboard, a new laptop right here that I just haven't even set up yet. But I have an album out right now, and it was my very first album, and I love everything about it. I love all that I did with it. It's just now, like since I released that first album, I didn't really know what I was doing. My producer Matthew Tipton did like help me out so much with it because I had written music, I just didn't know how to record, and so he really helped me get started on that. And since then, the maturity in my songwriting and production and just in recording skills and just, look at Greetings from Asbury Park and then look at Born in the USA, just like Bruce's progression. I'm not comparing myself to Bruce, but you look at any artist and it's just like you can see a maturity in how they evolve as musicians. And the stuff that I'm working on right now is much, I guess, mature than on my first album. And I'm not knocking my first album. I wouldn't have done it any other way. I loved my songs on there. Like I listen to them almost every single day. I have my favorites. They're all stories, whether they're very personal to me or about someone else or inspired by a certain thing. But yeah, I'm always working on music. It is a passion. It's not to make money, but it's something that I just love to do, and that's why that I do it. It's because I love doing it.
Great, and that will bring you success from what you just said because it's the passion of it. You're in a studio right now with, I don't know, I'm looking at a dozen guitars or something. Why don't you play one of your favorite songs that you wrote? And then afterwards, we can chat a little bit about how you came up with the lyrics and why you wrote it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Musicians and Beyond, and we have a special guest today, Matthew Aucoin, and he's going to play us one of his wonderful songs.
Okay, so this is one of my new songs. I released this back last year in March. And if you listen to the lyrics in this more stripped down version, it is about a friend of mine who went through a really, really tough breakup. I had a song title called Upward Fall, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to write about. But whenever she was telling me all the feelings that she was feeling in the midst of this breakup, it really brought me back to my hard breakups in the past, and I really related to it. So I thought, okay, what if I just, this is Upward Fall. So this is what I decided to write about. Your heart's been broke, your world's turned upside down. You don't want to hear anything except his sound. The ring of a phone, just one more call from the only one who's seen you through it all. Alone you fall asleep, crying late at night, 'cause everything he gave made you feel just right. You dream about this song y'all would dance to, while your forever man is out there looking for you. You're a 10 out of 10 and it's just your flaw. Perfect packages go to wrong doors. I promise one day you'll look back and say, it's not a downward stall, but an upward fall. It feels like every wall is coming down. You wake up wishing you could get out of this old town. It feels like the same sad cycle of regret. From I love you to I wish we had never met. But you're a 10 out of 10 and it's just your flaw. Perfect packages go to wrong doors. I promise one day you'll look back and say, it was not a downward stall, but an upward fall. Now it's hard to accept, it's just a man from your past. It was meant to be, it wasn't meant to last. But now it feels like you're left with this unpaid debt. One day you'll be debt free, I promise, just wait and see. One day you'll be debt free, just wait and see. 'Cause you're a 10 out of 10 and it's just your flaw. Perfect packages go to wrong doors. I promise one day you'll look back and say, it was not a downward stall. You're a 10 out of 10 and it's just your flaw. Perfect packages go to wrong doors. I promise one day you'll look back and say, it was not a downward stall, but an upward fall. An upward fall. It's not a downward stall, but an upward fall.
That was great. That was Matthew Aucoin. Matthew, thanks for sharing that with us, of course. And how do people purchase your music, and how do they find you on the interweb?
So my music's available on all streaming platforms: iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, Pandora. Whatever streaming service or way that you listen to music, it is there. So all I gotta do is just type in my name, and then it'll pop up.
Cool. And we want all of our listeners not only to follow us at Musicians and Beyond, but also follow Matthew Aucoin. And he's on Instagram, Facebook, and all of those as well.
Absolutely.
And great. What do you have going on right now? What projects are in the works?
So I have this song. I have a lot of music that I am currently working on. There's a lot of projects in the works. I'm currently working on a fully produced album. It'll be my second album, and Upward Fall will be on it. I am also releasing a new song called Brilliant Disguise within the next week or so, and I think that's one of my favorite songs that I've ever produced. I really pushed myself to my personal limits to see kind of what I was made of and to really discover my sound. And it's funny, I wrote that song I wrote Brilliant Disguise as a piano ballad, and I finished. I was like, you know what? No, this needs to be. I need electric guitars. I need it faster. And so I made it like this pop rock E Street Band just anthem, kind of like I was like, I want something that's like a show opener. I want something fast, highly energetic, and that's exactly what Brilliant Disguise is. And it has nothing to do with Bruce Springsteen's song Brilliant Disguise, but I think the overall sound, it ended up being something that the E Street Band could easily play, or you could see them playing that song. It's got saxophone, lots of electric guitars, really distinct melodies, and I'm really looking forward to getting that song out, because listeners can look to that song as a standard for what they can expect from me moving forward.
I've listened to a bunch of your music, and I was impressed with all the different pieces of the puzzle that you brought in to make the sound. Like you said, all the different instruments. Now, you don't play all the instruments yourself, but you do play more than the
Correct.
guitar. What else do you play?
I play harmonica. I play keys, piano, which and that dives in deeper to like organs or synthesizer pads. It doesn't just, it goes just beyond piano.
Yeah.
If I can, so guitar, keys, piano, and I actually play a little bit of trumpet, but there's no trumpet on any of the albums yet. But yeah, so I can play a lot of different things. I can play a little bit of bass, but usually I'll either use software or I'll hire someone to play a bass, or my producer will play the bass, and that's kind of how we would do it. Sometimes it's not that I can't play a part. It's just if I hire someone else that maybe has better equipment or can put more of a polish on it, I will hire them to play the exact part that I played, just so I get the best quality sound possible. Kind of like how Bruce has Steve play some solos, Niels plays some solos, and himself plays some solos. It is a lot of fun though, but doing it all yourself, it would be so nice to have a full band backing you, because then you can just go all of it at once. But instead, it's like I'm like, okay, let me lay down good guitars. Now let me do bass. Now keys. And I'm just slowly building the song out. It's like I can't imagine how awesome it would be to have a group of guys that know your sound, that just know your taste and know how to play,
Right.
So also put their own professional touch on it.
So when you're out gigging, do you have your own band that you play with?
Usually for me, it is just solo. It is really hard for me to get out and gig, especially with other musicians. But whenever I do, it is just solo, because I have a day job. Like this isn't what I do to bring in income, but it is what I do. I am blessed in the sense that I am able to do kind of both. I'm able to work full time and have a nice steady income, and be able to do my music in the free time, and be able to slowly build out my my repertoire of music, and be able to go out and occasionally play.
We love what you're putting out there. I mean, the world,
I appreciate it.
Has got to hear everything that you have. You were really high on one of your songs a couple minutes ago. You were talking about. Absolutely, we will play Matthew Aucoin, and the song is called "Brilliant Disguise."
Did I not know all your love was just for show? Drug my heart so far when you knew you would tear it apart. You took it right out of the blue. You played tug of war and ripped it in two. You were all pretend when I thought I would love again. I'm sick of paying the same price. Just another brilliant disguise. I cannot help but think you would be mine. Now I sit in the pool of defeat. Is the way I am drowning me. Yes, the cards in my hand have fallen to me once more. Out there waiting is another mistake in the town I like to call heartbreak. In this town, you just get drunk or get stoned. Yeah, pass it back one more time. I'm busting out of town tonight. You were up the same price for just another brilliant disguise. I could not help but think you would be mine. Now I sit in the pool of defeat. It's the way I am drowning me. Come on! You won't have to do without. You were all pretend when I thought I would love again. I'm sick of paying the same price for just another brilliant disguise. I could not help but think you would be mine. Now I sit in the pool of defeat. It's the way I am drowning me.
That was Brilliant Disguise by Matthew Aucoin. Matthew, tell us a little bit about how you wrote that song. I know it's very special to you.
Oh yeah. You know, one thing going into my second album was I wanted to push myself to be more raw with the lyrics and the storytelling, songwriting, and production, and you know how I sing and how I project my voice to really bring out the full story. That's why that. Like I said earlier, that the song was originally a piano ballad, but I thought to myself, this sounds sad, but I'm angry, you know? And so I made an arrangement where I am, you know, angry, you know, it's like liking, you know, it's your typical, man, like you played me type song. It's like, man, I thought you were one thing, but you were in another, you know, and you're just sick of going through the motions of I'm sick of paying this same price for just another brilliant disguise, you know, and that's pretty much what the song's about. Is it's just letting out this anger, in this anthem of a song with lots of energy. So that's really where it came from. I was just very raw. I was like, I'm just gonna say how I feel, and usually I would kind of like I will go back and like tweak some things to make it less, I guess, raw, but I just kept everything the exact same. And I kept sitting on it and just kept revising it. And this was a song that I've been working on for, you know, with all of the upgrades to my studio and stuff, I had slowly kept working on this song for over a year. It's honestly been 14 or 15 months that the song's been in the works, and it's been ready for like a month or two. I just hadn't found the right time to release it, but I think I found the right time to release it. So people are going to be able to download that on all the major platforms. And what's the date of release? So right now we have a release date of January 13th.
Great, right around the corner.
Yes, next Friday.
I have to tell you, the before and after photos of your studio, you can see what the work you put in and the big change.
Oh yeah, my entire first album was in that first picture you saw, where I had a blanket over my window, and now I got sound panels over the window and all like a much better microphone, better interface, and like I said, I'm not knocking the first album. It's just with the second album and the music I'm currently working on, it's like everything's just it's a very big step forward.
Well, we really want to thank you for taking all your time, coming on, telling us these stories. I mean, we could talk for hours. Your Bruce Springsteen story is awesome, but we hope that that's just the beginning of it, that, you're going to be able to come back on again and say, you're not going to believe what happened now, and just keep going, because you got what it takes to be a star.
I've got some stuff in. I got a lot of stuff in the works. There's going to be music coming out in the coming months, whether it's singles. I will have a full album out later on this year, and I will be attending Bruce shows on his tour coming up. We will see what happens at those shows. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to try to hop on stage again, but I won't say that I will try to hop on stage. I just need to figure out, okay, what is the best way to go about this? Do I ask to get on stage again, or do I ask for something else, or just a way to just be like, hey man, remember me? And it's just a picture of us. So
Matt, with that said, if that opportunity comes about, good for you. But what do you have coming up in the near future? What shows are you doing, and will you be playing?
So right now, all of my free time is being dedicated to making the music, and once my music is released, then I will go out and play shows. But like with having a full-time job and stuff, I don't have that much time to go out and play shows. So I don't have any lined up in the near future, but I will. Once my second album is out, I definitely plan on going to play.
When the album comes out, where would you ideally, if you had a chance to start a tour, where would you be?
Oh, in Asbury Park, New Jersey, at the Stone Pony. Because those people love live music. Those people love live music. That's such my vibe. And it's like, I wish, part of me wishes that I grew up in that area, because you're around so many more people. Like, Bruce is such a huge influence on me that, they'll be able to see that influence in my own music if I'm up there. So it's a good way to get some traction if I play up there. And of course, people know who I am. They might recognize me or, whatnot up there as well, more so than here. And this is where I'm from. And so Houston's really awesome. And they do have live music, but you can't do live music like you can up north in that New Jersey, New York area. Down here, it's mainly Texas country and cowboy type stuff.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Matthew Aucoin for spending his time with us again, and would like to thank our very good friends Jerry and Debbie over at It's Another Sunday Podcast for the wonderful recommendation. And for our listeners, we'd appreciate if you go over and check them out. They have some fantastic guests and some fantastic conversations. And make sure our listeners, you go out, you follow him, you download his any of his music. He's on all the major platforms. Check out that YouTube video. That's extremely entertaining, and it will make you appreciate the talents that Matthew has. So, Matthew, again, thank you so much. Best of luck in your career, in your future, in everything that you got going on.
Thank you for coming in with us. But one last time, make sure the audience knows where to find you, your website, your Instagram, anywhere you want to shout out. Put it out there one more time.
Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram, just my first and last name. You will see me in a red shirt holding a guitar. Same with Twitter, Facebook. Those are all of my social media platforms, and you can find me on all of the music streaming websites, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube as well. I need to do some work on YouTube. I have a couple more videos I need to upload along with some other music, so I'll be on that one a lot more soon. But yeah, that is where you can find me. So give me a follow.
Get some stuff up on the YouTube channel, and we'll be sharing it out. And it's Matt Aucoin. And I love that you use the description on the photo, because there's so many people out there with the similar names or similar tags. If you don't throw your description out there, people aren't going to know who to look for.
Well, Matthew Aucoin, we want to thank you very much, and we want to thank you for being our friend.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on, and hopefully I can come back in the future. It would be awesome.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you guys.